One of the main things I always do is during the lecture, I make sure it's like inclusive for everyone. But if there are students that like don't get it, like if they're like, "There's no way, I can't do this. I can't do the homework." Um, I leave about 40 minutes at the end of class, like 30 to 40 minutes, so that they can like get that individualized one-on-one instruction that they might need. So that's the biggest part of my lesson design that includes differentiation, but it's not like they always take advantage of that. Um, so that's unfortunate, but once in a while I'll have a student that sticks behind and gets maybe 3 or 4 questions answered, um, and that's pertaining to like the kids that might not understand. As far as the high achievers, it's always like I always include a couple of challenge questions on the homework that they might be able to answer, potentially for extra credit. So
That's really great. When the kids who are struggling, they stay after you dismiss class and you have that one-on-one time with them. What kinds of strategies do you usually use for the types of questions they ask you?
So basically, I start at ground zero, the fundamentals of each type of problem that we're covering. If they're having struggles with fractions, integers, that's usually the main problem. If they're struggling with the fundamental, like -1 + 3, if they aren't able to do that, then they can't do like slope. So starting with the lowest necessity, and then making our way up. Scaffolding, pretty much scaffolding once more.
That's what we do. So yeah, very good. Um, when you reflect on that lesson from Thursday, I'm going to ask both questions. What do you think went well? And then after that, if you could reflect what you think maybe you could do a little better.
Yeah, definitely. I think that I had a good amount of participation, which was awesome. Usually, it's a little hit and miss with participation. I think that I was able to connect with the kids, engage them effectively. Um, Something that I could have done better is that same thing. Potentially, I could have engaged them a little better. It's tough to say at this point, especially in this school year, like how I can engage those students that just like turn on the camera or turn on the Zoom and then like leave the room. So um, it's I think that I could potentially do that better, maybe. But as far as the lesson goes, it's it's tough to say what I could do better um, at this point. Besides that,
You know, we all struggled. What you just said, I think, is universal right now that all of us have these kids. Like, they have their static picture, and we have no idea. They could be sleeping, they could be in another room, and it's frustrating. And there's really, I don't know what we can do. So I feel your pain on that.
maybe one more thing is take it a little slower. Sometimes I like do 2 minutes instead of maybe I can give them 3 minutes on the warm up or each individual question that they're because I know these kids are typically struggling in math. That's why they're in that class. Maybe a little bit longer would help increase the participation. Um, but then again, like um, if I give it longer, then I lose the kids that just answered it in like 2 seconds. Like so, yeah. So it's tough to say on that too. Like how I could maybe just find middle ground.
Just a thought, when you have those accelerated kids and springboarding off of your idea of like they can do extra work
Mm-hmm.
as homework, but what if you had extra classwork? And so the kids who are struggling, don't expect them to get, maybe you can put an asterisk on the bonus questions. And that way they actually have something to work towards. And their little carrot is, hey, you get extra credit. I have to do things like that in my classes. So
That makes a lot of sense, and that would definitely help keep those kids engaged, like the higher end kids. Um, so yeah, I think that's definitely a great idea. Be incorporating.
it's a lot extra work though, because then you have to think of the lower level questions and then all these extra questions. But it might help since you are ending class 30 or 40 minutes before the bell. Um, yeah, I think that that would give more time on task, possibly.
Yeah, that might be a good way to extend the lecture as well. Um,
Yeah.
I do want to, however, keep a good solid chunk of that for homework time because I don't want them spending an hour doing homework after class for my class. um, just because I know they're already on the screen for 6 hours.
Oh my
So,
gosh, I know.
but once again, it's a balance. It seems.
Philosophically, we're on the same page because I do the same thing. I try to make the homework for that day equivalent to whatever time is left so that it isn't like hours and hours, because if it is, they won't do it.
Yep.
And they do, they're trying to copy it or do something to make it not time consuming. So I get that completely. All right. Looking at, you've been doing this now for a while. What student outcomes have you observed from specifically the strategy of differentiation that we're talking about?
Well, I've seen at least this year it's tough for the higher end kids, but like you said, I'm definitely going to be incorporating that. But as far as student outcomes for like the kids that tend to perform a little less, how should I say, um, a little worse on tests or quizzes. I've seen better student outcomes as far as that goes. Edgar in that class, he's typically performs worse, but he's 6 behind and like asks questions, and that he's been improving quite substantially. Same thing with Omar. Omar's 6 behind. Sometimes he's not there, but sometimes he's like almost a month behind in the class. But we're going through homeworks almost 2 a day, 3 a day. So it's definitely improving the student outcomes. Where if they're feeling behind, they can come after class. They can